Can you, before we go into its return to steam, can you talk a little bit about just a recap of what's been happening over the last few years?
So, well, we started an overhaul at the end of 2015, came out of service in September 2015, moved the locomotive to the National Railway Museum workshops in York at the end of the year and started the overhaul. So we've been going on for a few years until we were getting well into the overhaul. The boiler went to overhaul at Llangollen Railway, came back, gone on the frames, and then we were kind of hit by the COVID, the worldwide kind of pandemic issue, which did delay us. Probably we lost a year in the overhaul through that. Then middle of last year, May time, we were told we needed to vacate the National Railway Museum workshops because they needed it needed to make space for their redevelopment plans. So we relocated to Locomotive Services at Crewe Depot to finish the overhaul. That probably cost us another month or two in time, to be honest. But by the end of last year, we were getting close to the locomotive being complete, and we rehydraulic the boiler to reset the 10-year insurance certificate. And so the locomotive then was rolled out in February for members and steamed the following month, and then went off into active service, so to speak, which I guess we're going to talk about a little more. But the locomotive went for running in and trials and so on and so forth.
So its return to steam was earlier this year?
Yeah, it steamed literally a week or about a week before it started running in. It steamed to the overhaul when we at the Crewe Depot where we completed the overhaul. Then it was taken by road to the Severn Valley Railway to Bridgnorth, and we steamed, and the first moves were actually at Bridgnorth, and we started running in, and it was there for 3 or 4 weeks before taking part in their spring gala, where it ran for the 4 days of the gala. Very, very, very busy trains, very popular. Many photos and videos coming out during that sort of extended weekend. We had a little event marking the return to traffic, sprayed champagne over it, and that kind of thing. And that was the official back into revenue earning traffic. But of course, the objective was to get the locomotive back onto the main line, and that was the next step, which we completed just last weekend. The culmination of all the work was a special train that we hauled last weekend from Crewe to Carlisle. So the locomotive is now back mainline certified and fully operational.
So to get the locomotive certified to run on the main line. What are some of the jobs that need to be done to get to that stage?
Well, you can't. You have to kind of start from the beginning. So everything has to be done to comply with the mainline standards. So all the overhaul activities have to be done on compliant and critically documented. So everything that when you say what has to be done, you have to start from the beginning when you start taking it apart to intend to put it on the main line and do the job accordingly to the full standards and the full documentation, so everything is traceable and all the materials are traceable, etc., etc. So that's the essence of it, in the sense of, you know, there's that you would have to do in any overhaul, but you have to do it more rigorously when you're going on the main line. And then the other part of it, of course, is you've got to fit certain modern safety equipment. So we have what's called GSMR, which is the train radio fitted. We have OTMR and TPWS, which are signalling and train recording, on-train monitoring and recording, OTMR. That records all the operations of the locomotive. So if there's ever a safety incident, you've got a complete record of the working of the locomotive, which can be examined later. And that's all electronics and gubbins, which has to be fitted and squeezed into spaces which, you know, weren't ever allowed for in the original design. So there's a lot of new stuff appears under the cab floor and various compartments in the tender. So that all has to be fitted, checked, certified. In our case, because we've been on the main line before, recertified for operation. And when all that's complete, the vehicle acceptance bodies and the regulatory people come and check all that documentation, make sure everything's signed off and calibrated and certified, which allows you to get to a point of having a test run. And you need to do a light engine test run or engine and van test run, followed by a loaded test run, which then gets you a point to complete certification.
Once the certification process is done, every time the locomotive hauls a rail tour, does it have to have an inspection prior to that?
Oh yes, there's a fitness to run exam before every trip, which is a kind of a regular process, in the sense that it's making sure all the electronics are working, checking the injectors work properly against full boiler pressure, and they'll go and check and look for any defects, all sorts of things. Nothing dangling off the underside, or it's quite a thorough, rigorous examination. But you shouldn't, if you know your locomotive, you shouldn't really find too many big surprises there, because the team around the locomotive should be on top of that, and that shouldn't, you wouldn't expect to fail, but obviously it's a necessary step to make sure there's that independent verification that everything's good to go.
So would it be during the light up process the day before?
Well, you'll probably light up the day before, you see what I mean, because the fitness to run requires you to have full boiler pressure, or at least most inspectors require full boiler pressure to check the injectors work against full head of steam. So yes, you for a mainline tour, you probably lit up a couple of days beforehand to have the loco in steam for the FTR, and then obviously it'll sort of keep going until the day of the tour.
So the first mainline run, whereabouts did that run to?
So the first run was a very special tour. We were able to recreate a bit of history, because when the locomotive was bought by the society that formed, changed its name, but it's the same society that was bought the locomotive in 1966. And when that locomotive was first run in our ownership, it hauled a tour from Crewe to Carlisle, and then back again via the Sutton Carlisle run, going out via Shap. And we recreated that kind of in the reverse direction. So we ran from Crewe over the Settle and Carlisle route to Carlisle, and then back via the main line over Shap to Preston and back to Crewe, which was about 300-mile round trip, including a couple of quite significant climbs and the opportunity for some nice fast running. So we had a fantastic tour, and thanks to the arrangements we have with Locomotive Services, we were able to do that at a very special rate for our members. And we had a couple of hundred of our trust members on board, an exclusive train, along with a few special guests from the past. And it made it a very, very special day to go and recreate what was done 55 years ago in 67. And I think the results were fantastic. We've seen a lot of very happy people at the end of the day, and it was great to see the locomotive back in action and doing what it's supposed to be doing out on the main line.
So, and the load testing on the Severn Valley and the light engine testing was successful as well?
Yeah, everything went pretty smoothly. I mean, there's always a few things come up, things to be tightened, etc., and bits and pieces. That's inevitable with the steam engine. But we were very, very pleased with the way it performed at the Severn Valley. The locomotive the front end's very steam tight. Everything, the beats bang on. It was responding well. We had no problems whatsoever with worn bearings of any sort, which was very, very pleasing for the hard work of the team have put in to get things absolutely spot on. Done a brilliant job, and all through the running in, all through the mainline test runs as well, everything was absolutely solid. No worn bearings or anything of that nature, which is really, really good.
With the test run on the main line, whereabouts did that go to?
There's a standard path which Locomotive Services have in the working timetable, which goes from Crewe round a circle to Chester, then up Gresford Bank and round to Shrewsbury, then through Telford back to Stafford, and then a last dash along the West Coast main line from Stafford back to Crewe. So it's a well-trodden path for Locomotive Services crews doing running in turns, and it gives you the opportunity to give the locomotive a good stretch of the legs, good climb up fairly stiff bank, and also a good fast run at the end to make sure you're good at full speed.
And that went without a hitch as well.
Yep, all good. I was lucky enough to be one of there's a select gathering on that train, but I was lucky enough to be on that train, and it performed beautifully, no problems at all. And that was the final tick in the box before we issued tickets for the train, because that was only done the week before the tour on the Tuesday. So I dashed home to get the tickets into out to members. I mean, it's been a pretty hectic few months. We've had a huge push to do what's been done in a very short space of time. I mean, as I said, the loco only steamed in March, and here we are in May with a fully certified mainline locomotive. Now, there's obviously a lot of work gone into getting it ready, so everything was lined up, ready to go. But there's been a huge amount of work by the engineering team to keep to the schedule we had in mind, and to actually achieve that is a really, really significant achievement, and I've got nothing but praise and admiration for the effort those guys have put in to get us to the sort of position so quickly and so successfully. It's payback for the 6 years of work beforehand, so to speak.